Are you ready to make 2021 the best sales year ever? Welcome to the 2021 Authentic Selling Challenge, brought to you by Bombbomb and the Selling from the Heart Insiders Group. Each day, you will be inspired, equipped, and challenged to take action to unlock higher levels of success and fulfillment in your sales career. You're about to be coached by some of the sales world's foremost thought leaders and influencers. This is going to be practical and fun, so grab a pen and a notepad and get ready to take action as we join our challenge hosts, Larry Levine and Daryl Amy.
All right. Hello, and back. The 2021 Selling Challenge is not over. It continues. Larry, I'm so fired to be here. We got Victor Antonio in the house today. It is going to be a super time together, and I'm just fired up, Larry.
What happened to January? Here we are, and it's already Q2. What the heck happened?
Q1 done. Q2 is here, but we're going to start Q2 out with authenticity, and this is what we're aiming at. Welcome back. If you're joining live, give a shout out in the chat on YouTube. We'd love to see who's here. If you're watching later, this is going to be fantastic. The 2021 Authentic Selling Challenge. If this is new to you, guess what? You have joined a global community of sales professionals that are saying, hey, we want to be authentic. We want to bring authentic value. We want authentic relationships. Larry, I think it's summed up best in your famous quote, "No more empty suits."
No, you know what? And if we look back at the past year or so, all the issues and the trying times and all the uncertainty out there, I'm a big believer the gaps widened. The gaps widened between authentic, genuine sales professionals and what I often refer to as empty suits. And it's been exposed. I believe it's been exposed at rapid rates.
It really has. And this is the time we've been saying we got to get it done in 2021. I see Jerry's in the house. Look,
George.
You got George. What's up, George? It's great to see you. And this is, we've got to get it done in 2021. There's no question. 2020 was a challenging year for many, many sales professionals. The reality is this is a time to work at being authentic, at delivering authentic value, at intentionally developing our relationships. Good morning, William. And all of this is critical right now. This is a time we can't fake it. And that's why we put this 2021 Authentic Selling Challenge together. And Larry, just for those who are catching up and joining us, it has been so much fun. Just think of all the different people that have been a part of this all the way back from when Dave Sanderson first kicked this off that first week in January.
Yeah, the first word, Daryl, that comes to my mind is transformation. And it's really hard to grow if we're not willing to transform. And if there's one thing that I've seen through the challenge now into the intensive is that personal transformation, the aha moments, the people going, you know what, that inner work, the inner work that I never thought I can do, they're doing it and they're seeing massive, massive amounts of success with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the whole model here. I mean, from all of this, we started with the premise of saying, hey, private transformation, the work we do personally, personal growth precedes public success. Let me just pull this up because this is the model that we were working on, is saying, hey, what if we really focus this year on working on developing our heart capacity, developing our minds, developing our energy. We had Liz Windling. We had Mark Hunter, A Mind for Sales. We had Olympic champion, gold medalist Joe Jacoby coach us on our body. and energy, and being able to bring that energy to the table. And the premise of this was, what if we worked on personal growth, that inner work, and then we also developed the skills for public success? And Larry, relationships, value, habits, action, all of that has been a huge part in now taking authenticity. And as Jack Hubbard said, authenticity without action is nothing. And that's where, right now we've really been keying in on saying, how do we take action to be authentic in 2021? Not just a sentiment, but actually doing something.
Yeah, and I want to dig in for just a moment on what you were saying, and I really want to expand a little bit on the inner work. This is stuff I firmly believe, Daryl, you firmly believe, it just doesn't get spoken about often enough in sales. We all know that we always go to that skill set, and rightfully so, right? We have to be trained on, coached on skill set.
Yep.
What we don't see enough happening is the inner work we do in sales. Because I was just recently on a podcast and I said, hey, you know what? Full disclosure, people, let's just get it out there. Sales is tough, right? It's a roller coaster of emotion. The highs are highs, the lows are lows. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, we talk about heart capacity a lot in the intensive. But when we think about heart, we think about the cardio aspect, watching what we eat, right? Vitamins and so forth to help keep that heart healthy. But what we don't think about is the other areas that go with heart. And that's what we work on with our minds, right? What we work on, with our relational aspects of things. And it just doesn't get spoken enough in sales.
You're absolutely right. And just a huge shout out to everybody in the 90-day authentic selling intensive. We got to the end of this challenge and we're like, what are we going to do now? And, a group of people said, you know what, let's take a deep dive into this. Let's build heart capacity and let's build habit consistency. And I just want to give a huge shout out. We're 8 weeks into this, I think 9 now, Larry. And it's been so cool. Look at what folks are saying about this, accountability and personal growth. It's a group of like-minded professionals who lift each other up to become the best version of ourselves. I mean, this has just been so much fun, Larry, going in and doing these deep dives with this small group of people. And I'm getting a ton out of it. But all of this is saying, once again, authenticity without action. It's a nice sentiment, but we're taking action. And I'm just so happy to see the folks that have stepped up to really develop that habit consistency and heart capacity. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I've said all along, and I'll continue to say it, authenticity is a lifestyle. It's not a light switch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we all have choices, and we decide how we want to go to market. We decide how we want to carry ourselves. But if you truly want to connect, you truly want to go deep, build great relationships, meaningful relationships, especially in what we often refer to as this post-trust sales world.
Yeah.
We must bring authenticity to the forefront. You just can't fake it anymore because people will smell it out in 2 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, if this is something that you go, man, I'd love to be a part of that. That would be awesome. We're going to start another cohort in May. And in fact, we're working on multiple cohorts. We're cooking up some stuff right now. It is so exciting, but this is all around developing authenticity. And if you want to do that, if you want to go on that journey with a group of like-minded sales professionals, check out intensive.2021authenticselling.com. And also, I want to put something on your radar. We're going to announce it at the end of our session today. But we have got a challenge coming up in May that is going to be so exciting. I can't wait to talk about it. The other thing that's coming up, which is a great segue to our guest today, is the Outbound Conference. And Larry, I missed being at the Outbound Conference. We missed a lot of things last year, but I really missed being at the Outbound Conference. And I think that is going to make this event coming up all the more sweet, being able to be there, whether you can come live or whether you come virtually. Come to the Outbound Conference. I can't wait for the energy, the motivation, the passion, just that like shared let's go for it that you get at Outbound?
It's I've often said it's a sales rock show. To me, it's where sales professionals unite to become better. To me, it's the best sales event out there, especially when it comes to pipeline productivity and prospecting. Some of the best that are out there, you're gonna interact. It's up close and personal. You'll fully immerse yourself for days from some of the best. I always said, I'll throw it out there. I'm a big Queen junkie. Queen's one of my favorite all-time rock bands, and it's Bohemian Rhapsody all wrapped up into one big sales improvement event.
So here it is, quick word from our friends at Outbound, and then we're going to dive into a great conversation with Victor Antonio.
This has been the most trying year for salespeople in the history of sales. There's been nothing like it, and you know that. And so many salespeople who have been working hard to keep their companies alive, to keep jobs alive, to keep the economy alive, are just at a point of exhaustion. You're worn out. And that's exactly why we are investing in Outbound 2021. This is a celebration. We rise up together. We take the next iteration of the economy together, and we're going to celebrate the getting back to normal together. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to put on a rock show of rock shows. This is a great opportunity to get out, to take a break, to celebrate what you've done this year, and to build your skills for the future. You can grab your tickets at outboundconference.com. They are going to be limited because of social distancing and keeping you safe, but don't miss out on the conference of the year, June 15th to 18th in Atlanta, Georgia, Outbound 2021.
Oh, it's going to be great.
I can't wait.
So excited. And that's coming up really soon. If you haven't snagged your ticket yet, get it because you're going to miss out if you don't get your ticket quickly. You can come virtual as well, but go to outboundconference.com. Use the code HEART100, and they have generously extended a $100 discount off your ticket. An incredible opportunity. And I can't wait to see everybody there. And Larry, one of the people we're going to see at the Outbound Conference is right here with us today. Why don't you introduce Victor and let's dive in.
Oh, Victor's Victor. Victor Antonio is amazing. Victor in the easel board, right, Victor? I remember seeing, I'd never experienced anything like that. It was Outbound a couple years ago, and out walks Victor, and it's just a white easel board, flip chart, and he delivered one of the best speeches I'd ever seen around sales using a flip chart. Past guest of Selling from the Heart podcast. Victor, you're amazing. Welcome.
Thank you. Pray guys, having pleasure to be here, man. And yes, I remember the flip chart. I do remember the flip chart.
Who doesn't remember?
You know why I remember the flip chart? I got to tell you a story. I'm going to give you some behind the scenes of Outbound.
Yeah, please
so
do.
I remember. I'm going to give you the short version. This is a really good story. So Jeb Blunt is not going to be happy with the story, but here it goes. So I remember Jeb was asking me for slides, and my whole thing was I don't want to prepare. I was on day 2, I think.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to listen to everybody speak, and then this that day or that night, I'm going to go prepare my speech, right? Which is kind of like, not a lot of people do this, right? But I'm like, I don't want to say what everybody else is saying, so I want to say something different because he's, but anyway, I was supposed to give him slides, and I did not tell him. This was my fault. I did not tell him that I wasn't going to use slides, right? And so a couple of days before, he's like, dude, where's your slides? And I'm like, I'm not going to use slides. I'm just going to listen to everybody, figure it out, and then I'll use a flip chart, right? And he's like, dude, did you know this is like a rock show? This is like a big deal. This is like, he goes, Jeff, right? Right? And I'm like, I go, yeah, I got it. I felt like a child being scolded. I got off the phone like, damn, that was harsh. Quick, right? So we get to practice, right? And we go through the practice. Mark Hutter's there, Anthony Norino, Mr. AI himself, and then Jeb, right? And then Jeb, again, gives me round 2 of the tongue lashing. It's a rock show. Victor, flip chart. Who does flip chart? Nobody uses the flip chart. I don't get it, but whatever, right? He does this to me, right? So all of a sudden, that just fueled my hate fire. I don't know if you have hate fire. I have hate fire. Like when you torque me off like that, I'm gonna rip this stage. That's what's my hell. I'm gonna rip this stage. And so I was gonna prove to him basically that I could do this with a flip chart. And so that was the story behind the story, right? So I remember I was like that guy, like, let me in, coach. I think Colleen Francis was before me, and I was like, come on, Colleen, get off the stage. I love you, but get off the stage because I need to do something. I was just that ready. And so I went out there, did my thing. And Jeb was nice enough to call me like a couple of days later, says, you were right. Flip chart did work for you. Nice job. So that was the story behind the story of the flip chart. So, and yeah, I will be using a flip chart again, probably. I might use some PowerPoint. I don't know. It's whatever mood I'm in.
It's authentic. And that's the whole point of all of this. Hey, Larry, it just reminds me of you when you used to sell using the whiteboard and just walk into the executive's office with the whiteboard and start writing on their whiteboard and make it. I just, you know what?
I got to tell the story.
So Victor, though.
It does. It does. So, hey, Victor, I want to play on that because Daryl actually witnessed this. And I remember Daryl and our friendship goes back decades. And one time he actually went out because I brought him into the organization I was involved with, and he did some sales training for our sales team. And I go, hey, you want to go on a ride out? You want to go on this appointment with me? Mm-hmm. And we walk in, right? Nice big office. And there's a couple executives sitting there waiting for us and all that. And I saw a big, huge, like those wall mounted whiteboards. And I go, we've been sitting for a while. And I go, you know what? We just, it's been a long drive over here. Would you mind if I just stood up for a bit and just jotted some notes down on your whiteboard? And they go, sure. And all of a sudden, the whole meeting, Victor, was done on the whiteboard. I went back weeks later, and guess what? They never erased it. It's still there.
It's like, boom.
You know what? I used to have a rule that if I could get a decision maker, an influencer, up to the board with me, done deal.
Yeah, exactly. You're on the same side of the table.
Yeah, I was selling telecom equipment because I came from the technology side. So I was actually like building out systems, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'd go in there, all right, we're going to put a tower here. We're going to put another point of presence here. We're going to put, and I said, now right here, here's where I'm troubled. Now I know the answer already. I said, I don't know what we want to do here.
Yeah.
Do we want to come out with, a wave division multiplexer, hit 5 different points of presence? How do you guys do it? And it's just like, do this. But I always did this. How do you guys do it? As I held the marker out. And then some people would just hesitate. I say, well, here, you take a shot at it. Let me just sit down for a second. And people would just grab the marker and start drawing. And then once I got that rolling, I thought that was, because it is, as you pointed out, authentic. It's a conversation. It's not a presentation anymore.
And I think that's such a great mindset right now because, in so many aspects of sales, we're coached to go in and, this is how you do it. Yeah. This is what you do. This is, but really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get on the same side of the table and we're trying to become, collaborative, trusted advisor and all of that. And I think that mindset, whether it's flip charts, whiteboards, that's what we do with our friends. That's what we do with our coworkers. And when we start to treat our prospects like human beings and not, cash registers, things are very different.
Yeah, I think the funniest story I have about on the topic of authenticity and credibility is that I did the 10X event with Grant Cardone first year, right? And so I used slides. I had slides, right? And so the slides were messed up. I don't know what happened, but it just, what was done on a down monitor wasn't behind me, and it was just confusing. And by the way, it's online. You could see it. And I just said, screw it. Give me a board. And they had this big board. And I'm like, and I start drawing these like market segmentations. I start getting into it. And the nicest compliments I got after that was, God, he really knew his stuff because he didn't care. He just kept going. And I think that demonstrates, that's authenticity to me, when you can just demonstrate that and people go, okay. Because I think that's part, when we look at authenticity, I had a hard time with it early on. You know how you're young, you're unsure of yourself, right?
Yep. And
then I had a moment. Well, I've had several moments in my life, but this is not a therapy session for me. But anyway, let me highlight one moment though. I remember I left corporate America, May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m. to be exact. I said, I'm going to do my own thing, right? And true story. And so I decided to go. I wanted to do speaking and training. I was like, I studied at the knee of Zig Ziglar and Jim Rohn, right? Mm-hmm. And so I said, I want to write books. I want to do speaking. I don't want to do training. And so I started out in the college market, right? This is a big moment for me. And so I remember for the first 6 months, maybe a year, I'm not getting a lot of business, right? I'm just not getting a lot of business. I remember we were living in Miami. I'm driving to Valencia. In Orlando, Valencia College. It's a 3-hour drive. I'm driving. You ever have those moments where you got windshield time and you're like, life just starts zooming in your head. And I go, all right, this is not working. I'm not making a lot of money. I just gave up a president of sales and marketing job. I'm making pennies over here. I'm not, this is not working out. And then I remembered Stephen Covey's, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the circle of influence. What can you control? What can't you control? And so I said, okay, what can I control? I said, well, I can't control bookings. I can't control how much budget they have, all this stuff, but I can't control how much fun I have on the stage. And so I came from Toastmasters, which means, your basic, put on your tie, get the suit on, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you just told them, right? That whole thing. Make sure you button your jacket, that whole thing. And so I've been doing the presentation very corporate-y. So on the way there to Valencia College, I said, you know what? Why don't I do it my way? Why don't I just present the way I would present? And I remember it was the auditorium was full, and I was scared. Like I was bricking in the background. Do you know what I mean? I was like, should I do it? Should I not do it? Like, don't do it. Do it, Victor. Something new. Don't do it. Do it. Something new, right? And I said, but I knew that I had to do something different, right? So I said, screw it. I'm going to do it, right? And so I did it my way, right? And standing ovation. No joke. The next day I had to fly to Atlanta to speak to Bell South. Now, those are students. I'm speaking to Bell South, who's probably defunct by now or got absorbed. And I remember it's a leadership conference. And I remember asking myself the same thing, but that negative guy, don't do it. These are leaders. You don't want to do that. They're not students. This one's like, screw it, do it your way. And so I said, well, I know what that road leads to, right? Yeah. I know where that one goes. So let's do it, right? And I remember I was scared. I remember finishing the presentation. I was on top of a table with one shoe in my hand. I can't explain the story anymore right now. And then it was boom, standing ovation again. And it was at that moment that I realized that I'd found my authentic speaking style. And that was the day that everything changed for me. By that, I mean, I began to enjoy it. Let's start with the most important part. But then it's like, people go, I kind of like the way this guy presents. He's a little 1 degree off center, but I kind of like it, right? And so when I realized that if you can take a lot of great information, a lot of great content, and then just slam it together with a couple of stories, a little entertainment, drop some content, that people love that blend, and that's my style. And that was my authentic moment that I said, but it was scary, man. It was scary. It's scary to be yourself.
You bring up, I love listening to that story because I think a lot of times in sales, Victor, and I know Daryl, we talk about it a lot on the podcast as well, is we struggle to come up with exactly who we are because we're afraid, right? And what I mean by we're afraid is there's always so much comparison being made in sales that we go, you know what? Some of us might be going, hey, what Victor just said, I don't know if I can pull that off. Well, what happens if you do and it works, right? And we have to get
tell people not to. I guess I tell people, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I try to tell people it's like it's like you got to find that style that's yours. I mean, if you try to be like Victor, you're screwed. You're gonna have that's a hard road because just like I can't be like you or Daryl, right? Yeah, I just can't do it that way. But I think people can smell or sense that when you're not being authentic. It's something like it's intangible. You can't define it, but when it's there and when it's not there. Yeah. And I think that's what. I think years of experience, and the faster you can get that, we should come up with something called time to authenticity. If you can, shorten your time to authenticity, I think, you'll be better at selling automatically.
Well, we talk about speed to heart. And I think that when you're authentic, you definitely get that speed to heart, right? And when you're not, you might not ever get there. And until you win somebody's heart, you don't really have anything. You don't have, you've got nothing until you get their heart. But when you do get your heart, it's like that moment when they grab the whiteboard marker, right? Like, okay, we're in it together. I trust this person.
There's something there. I've tried to come up with when I think about trust, because it's a big word, right? Everybody uses those word trust around. Nobody really defines it, right? Like you say, selling from the heart, you grab their heart. People go, okay, what does that mean? I get the concept, right? At a high level, at an existential level, we get it, right?
Right.
But tie it down to earth, tether it so I can figure out how do I implement that. And I think I've come up with what I think is a nice formula for trust. You tell me if you think I'm wrong, because I think this ties right into authenticity. It's glove in hand.
Can someone bring Victor a whiteboard here? Because this would be perfect on a whiteboard.
Well, maybe go on the board. But anyway, but no, I could do this. I could do visual Venn diagrams. I'm going to do visual diagrams.
There we go.
Watch this. Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
You just pulled a Karate Kid, by the way.
The wax on, wax off. I got that. So
that's right.
So what I figured out is what people want is three things. Let's start with the obvious one, which is they want to talk to an expert, someone who is credible and can demonstrate their expertise. The trusted advisor, consultative selling, a la Mac Hannon back in the day. That's what they want. I think that's the easy one. Not so much product IQ. Product IQ is knowing your product, but really understanding the business of the product and the value it provides is what I mean by that. So that's the expertise I'm talking about. Boom, we got that. So that's the first circle of the Venn diagram. The second circle is they want you to take their POV, their point of view.
Sure.
And they want to know that you understand their point of view, that you feel their pain. We use the word empathy, but it's really the point of view that I feel your pain. I know what you're going through. I know what you're struggling with. Look, I've talked to enough companies, but I know what you need. Let me walk you through what I think you're going through. You tell me if I'm wrong. Can we talk like that? And they'll go, Victor, right? That's the point of view. So there's a POV, the expertise, the POV, but the most important part, I think the third element most people don't talk about is you have to have their best interest at heart, if I can tie it back to you guys. In other words, I need to know that you're not just reaching into my pocket, right? That you just want to sell me something. I need you to know that you have my best interest. I trust you. You know what you're talking about. You understand my pain, my POV, but I want you to recommend things and not oversell me and don't undersell me, but really look out for my best interests and take care of me. And I think those are the three things. And if you can combine those three things, that'll move your authenticity factor right up.
Yeah, I want to splash on top of what Victor just said, what I call giving a rip, because that's where people can smell that. People smell when you're into it, when you're leaning in and when you're pouring yourself into the conversation. People sense that in 2 seconds. And it's about truly caring about those things that they care about. Yeah, but, giving a rip, I mean, we could replace the word, and I think we all know what that word is.
Yeah.
But if you pour yourself into that conversation, people smell it. They smell it instantaneously.
Like even right now in this conversation, I could have started out this conversation. Well, you introduced Victor Antonio. Let's do part 2 of this interview, right?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Victor Antonio.
Great to be here, guys. What are we talking about today? Authenticity, right? I said, well, authenticity. I mean, we can look at it from several perspectives. From a psychological perspective, we can talk about it this way. From a business mindset, we can approach it that way. From a strategical standpoint, we can talk about this. And people are going to go, they're just going to, it's like, I can do the
I hated
garble.
College, Victor.
Right. Yeah. I can't do the garble anymore because I think people are starving. I'd love to get your perspective on this. I think people are starving for honest / direct conversation. My daughter has a phrase for this, not the wordy. The wordy is where people say 100 things, but don't say anything. You're sitting there go, what did you just say? And because they don't want to say what they want to say. And in sales, I see a lot of people talk around what's right in the middle. Let's talk about that right there. But they're scared to sell that. I forgot who came out with this. I think it was Forrester. It says 76% of salespeople don't ask for the order. And part of it is maybe because they're afraid that, I don't know, that they'll get pushback. But I think if you're authentic and you go there, so let's have a direct conversation. If this makes sense for us, let's do something. If not, that's fine. There's other people to go sell to. I'm not saying that direct, but you know what I'm talking about.
No, I often refer to that, Victor, as just having healthy conversation. It's okay to have healthy conversation.
Yeah, but I think that, I'm just remembering Liz Windling, and Liz coached us on being direct in our communication. And I think, the easiest way to see this is an email because you wrote it out, right? And you see all these provisional, and I mean, it's like the proverbial, hey, Victor, I hope things are going well with you today during the struggles of the pandemic and the post-pandemic emergence. ... I
hope you and your family are doing well. And I'm going, you don't even know me or my family. You ask about my family. Go ahead.
You barely know my name. You don't know. Yeah, exactly. But also just that beating around the bush versus, okay, let's be direct. And I think that that beating around the bush type stuff betrays at least 2 of those 3, if not all of those 3 things in the Venn diagram, right? Is that person really confident in what they're talking about? Or are they just trying to throw some spaghetti on the wall here? Do they understand my point of view? Or are they just trying to see what sticks? And do they really give a rip? Are they just some corporate,
Do they really care?
talking head, right? That's spewing product information and buzzwords at me.
I mean, you guys have a podcast. I have a podcast. And so do you ever get those? I know you do. You ever get those emails from these agencies who want to book people on your podcast? And you can tell it's a cookie cutter.
Right.
They'll put your podcast at the beginning. Here's the Selling from the Heart podcast, right? And then the rest is blank, right? I've actually had emails where they forgot to change the name of the actual podcast host, and they call me Bill. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're like, and so I think when you start seeing stuff like that, that's just laziness. But I think in selling, the best salespeople I've seen in selling have those three things. They're experts in what they do. They know their business. They know the model. They take the customer's point of view. They get it. They understand, and then they keep their best interests in mind. And then there's this almost like they almost step back and say, "How do you want to do this?" You know what I mean? And they give them that mental space to decide.
And what an incredibly powerful way to stand out and differentiate in a world of robots and automation and, just the machine churning out stuff. People can smell it. But when you come to the table with those three things now, to me, this is the answer to the world of the bots and automation. Automate that. You can't do that. You can't bring that.
No.
I'm an AI fan, right? And so my last book, that Sales Ex Machina, where I talked about how AI is changing the world of selling. I'm an AI fan. I think it will augment the salesperson. Keyword, augment the salesperson. It will not replace them. It'll just replace tasks that could be routinized to make, in other words, their routines. But at the end of the day, there's no substitute for creativity, on the fly, improvisation, right in the moment, having those conversations, having those heart-to-heart talks. You can't get around that. And I still think, I'll go back down and repeat this for the third time just to beat it into the ground. If you don't have the expertise, you don't take their point of view, and you don't keep their best interest in mind while you're talking to them, and then back up and give them space, you won't have those connections.
Yeah. Hey, Daryl, as I'm listening to you guys, I have flashes of a near and dear friend to both you, Daryl, and myself, is Jim Carr. And when Jim Carr had come on the podcast, Victor, this goes back maybe 6-8 months ago, he dropped a line on the podcast that has just stuck in my head ever since. And Jim had said that he's concerned that salespeople out there are conversationally incompetent. And I remembered, it was ingrained in me. And as we peeled it back, how it resonated with me was this: I think salespeople today are so used to having those sales-esque conversations that they forgot that nothing happens until we have a regular human conversation that may not be sales related. And I think to Jim's point, this is where salespeople today struggle with, and you kind of alluded to it in that Venn diagram is, let's just look at it. How many salespeople out there are well versed in conversations if we're hiding behind templates, automated technology, and so forth? That might get us somewhere to get somebody to say yes, but then the magic happens when we start speaking with these people.
Yeah, as you said, by the way, that is a great line, because I think the conversational competency comes from two things: knowing your product and having some of the experience to, again, take their point of view, right? And I think it's really fascinating when I hear people trying to have these conversations, they struggle because, again, they simply don't know what they're selling sometimes. Yeah. This is interesting because we always talk about value. People throw that around like confetti, right? They just say the word value. And I was like, what does that mean? To me, value is, what does my product really do for you? What does my service really do for you? And I ask salespeople this when they're selling a product or service. I go, all right, what's the value? Give it to me. Take your time. Don't rush. Lay it out for me. Just walk me through the value proposition, right? And tell me. And it's interesting how they can probably go 1, maybe 2 levels deep into the value, but they can't go beyond that. I go, no, let me help you out more, because it's more value than you're actually uncovering. And what happens is when you don't understand your value, I hate to bring it back to the big D word, discounting, but when you don't understand your value, I mean, like truly understand the depth of what you're doing to help a company, one, you don't have the confidence to talk to people Because if you knew you had a piece of gold, man, you got something right there in that little black little box that could help you, I would be like, dude, Daryl, Larry, listen, I got something for you. No, listen to me. This is going to help you. I mean, that's a mindset of selling. If I understand the value, that's how excited I am. We've all been to a great restaurant, right? What do we do after we go to a great restaurant? The next day we call our friend up and say, well, Daryl, went to a restaurant last night. Let me tell you about this restaurant. And all of a sudden you start sharing, which is selling. It's in another form. But I think a lot of people don't understand the value, which is why they can't be authentic, because they don't understand the value. And if you draw the major circle around the diagram, isn't that it? Isn't that really the value that you're bringing? You're showing them, here's my expertise. Here's how it can help you. I got your best interest in mind. Here's what's going to save you money, increase your revenue, expand your market share. That's how it's going to do that. And by the way, you don't have to buy the Maserati. Let's just go ahead and buy the BMW today. But there's no way I'm letting you buy the Fiat, right? That type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think people get that. That's the conversation. And I think tying it back to our original statement is that's what I mean by direct conversation. That I'm telling you, because I've studied my product and service, I know what it can do for you.
Yeah.
And if I have that type of, belief, we talk about belief system. I mean, you could smell when somebody believes what they're selling.
And this is authenticity right here, diluted down into an eyedropper bottle. I mean, what we're talking about is the good stuff, because the value side of this, I just love this Venn diagram framework, because if I don't know your point of view, if I don't understand that, I'm a firm believer that buyers never buy products. They always buy the outcomes those products deliver. But if I don't understand your point of view, how in the world can I articulate value to you, right? And if I don't know business, if I don't have, beyond the product knowledge, if I haven't invested in business acumen and a deep understanding of your world, your industry, how can I, the point of view doesn't help if I can't marry those. And this is where I see authenticity coming together in reps, saying we're going to do the hard work to really give a rip, which means we're going to listen to our clients and we're going to prepare like crazy behind the scenes to increase our business value. This is
by the way,
game changer stuff.
I was going to say, to close the loop on Larry's comment about the quote that you heard, that's how you get to conversational competency.
Yeah.
That's the full loop right there.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, beautiful. Hey, we've got some questions starting to come in from the live audience here. Our friend George has a question. Victor, we're full year into the pandemic. Many companies and people have experienced success during this time. And the states and companies are starting to emerge. Can you share your top takeaways? What'd you learn?
Dude, I've learned a lot. Oh man, I learned.
All right, lay it on us.
All right, here it goes. He goes, last year the word was pivot, right? We just abused that poor word. It's like, hanging in the corner somewhere, pivot. Yeah, I got it, right? And so all of us pivoted, right? Because we had to. So this whole studio wasn't here a year ago. Right. So March was a lockdown for us. And I remember about a couple of weeks later, I don't know what the time frame is, but I was telling my wife is not good. And she's like, what do you mean not good? I go, not good. And all of a sudden the contract constellations, started coming in. So I lost about 90% of my business. Right. So I'm like, all right, pivot, right? Let's go. So let's go virtual. I came up with a show called Sales After Dark. I came up with all kinds of crazy things, but I really wanted to just keep going. I'm like, other than that, what are you going to do? Right? Suck on your thumb? Right. No, let's go do something. And so I ended the year, I actually grew 5-6%, so almost 20%. So I was super happy. But during that time, I got to coach and train with a lot of companies. And here was the interesting, the most fascinating one to me. I'll just give you one, for sake of time, is the pool industry, like swimming pool, right? Mm-hmm. So I was talking to a company, great guy, Moorhead Pools, and I was talking to Michael Moorhead, and he said, Victor, here's what happened. He says, when the pandemic hit, we're a pool company. We're expensive, right? The average pool is 80. Typically, you can go up to 300,000, but I think somewhere in the middle, you can actually hit 150. It's expensive, right? Mm-hmm. He said we had a 3-phase plan as soon as the pandemic hit and the shutdown occurred. The first phase one, we're going to actually cut to the bone, right? Phase 2, we're going to get rid of non-essential people. Phase 3, we don't know what that is. We hope we don't get there, right? Type of thing, right? So they started to implement phase 1, but something funny happened on the way to the show. is that they started getting more business. And so the pool industry right now, even in Canada, by the way, I have clients in Canada. Right now, you can't get a pool for 6 months. They're backed up. They got backlogs like you wouldn't believe. And what happened was that a lot of people actually started investing in their homes because they couldn't travel.
Yep.
Right? So the big lesson here for me, the big takeaway was that in business, there's so many unintended consequences when, Joseph Schumpeter, the economist, said, he always used the phrase creative destruction, right? It's like, the iPhone, creative destruction, a piece of technology is introduced into the market, disrupts how everything is done. But then the magic of capitalism, a la Adam Smith, kicks in. The invisible hand reassembles itself and becomes more efficient, right? And so the pandemic is basically our creative destruction. And that is that the market is now reassembling itself in a more efficient way. A big energy company I work with, they do a lot of batteries for like towers and sites and all kinds of stuff. They basically said, look, our sales fell 10%. This is a global company. We're talking close to $1 billion in revenue. Our sales fell, 10%. He said, but Victor, our costs went through the floor. He goes, and because we were doing a lot of virtual training with them. And so what they've discovered is that they don't need to get on the plane all the time to close deals, big deals. We're talking B2B long sales cycles. And so companies are now figuring out that they don't need to do that. They don't need to travel. And I'll leave you with this analogy. This is the ultimate understanding of what's just happened to us. My background for you guys, if you don't know, it's electrical engineering. So I remember I had a metallurgy class. And my instructor handed us a wire, right? Just like a hanger wire. And he says, and he just touch it, you touch it. He says, bend it. So I bent it, right? He says, great, nice job. He says, now bend it back the way it was. And so you try, but you always get that little hump in the middle, right? And he says, right there, the bonds have realigned and it's created higher tensile strength right there. He says, you'll never get it up. Right there, it's the strongest point in that wire. What has happened to us is we've been bent and we're not going back to the normal. So last year we abused the word pivot. This year we're gonna so abuse the word hybrid because that's where we're going. And so that's the new abuse. So the big takeaway was that the pandemic has been the greatest accelerator of digital transformation than anything I could have imagined. So if we were on a 45-degree angled, trajectory to get the, virtual, a remote selling or remote working, we just took a hard right turn with the pandemic and it's not going away. It's now become part of our way of doing business.
It's so good. So instead of using the word hybrid, guys, maybe we just call it Prius, right? It's the Prius sales moment.
Prius.
I love that. I like that. I like that analogy about the bent hanger, though, and this. We have all been bent. That's been twisted and challenged. I love, by the way, hearing that your revenue went up last year, and I think the reality is the people that grabbed on, to this, did well. Meredith coached us in this, right? Looking at the situation and adapting, and so. Right now, the question is, this is what I love about the future. Maybe we always have, but this is a inflection moment where we get to define the future. And this is why I'm so excited about sales professionals that have said, or beginning to say, you know what, maybe authenticity wasn't always about just being able to shake someone's hand and sit across the table from them or, buy them a corporate dinner. Maybe authenticity is actually about giving a rip and figuring out how to add value in the midst of it's like it's this shift in mindset right now. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I think we're forced to shift in mindset. I'm not going to look. There's some sales trainers out there going, we're not going back to back, and face to face is never necessary. I'm like, I don't know, that's too harsh. I'm never about absolutes, right? I'm always about wherever you can work it in. Like when they talk about inbound versus outbound, hey, omni-channel, wherever I can get it, right?
That's right.
And so I think that's going to be the same thing when we go back to some face-to-face, because I think to some extent that's necessary in a lot of cases, but we're finding out that in many cases it's not. And so it's going to be a mixed bag of how we approach it. And each company is going to come up with their own strategy, but it's really fast. I'll give you one more example. CarMax is now changed their model. Also, if you think of CarMax now views their website as the showroom. And the actual dealer where the cars are at as the actual pickup and delivery place. So they've shifted. Even in the car industry, they're selling more cars per person virtually. than they did before. So that's changing the car industry in and of itself.
And we all have the opportunity to look at what we're doing and reinvent it. And that's why I think this is such an exciting time in the middle of all of this. And I mean, hats off to everybody in the Authentic Selling Challenge who stepped up and said, hey, we're going to figure this out. We're going to, we're going to innovate. We're going to do things better. We're going to do things different. I want to go back to what you said about AI. We've talked about artificial intelligence. I think I love this word augmented intelligence in terms of looking at the technology that is all around us, the data, the information, the processing of that, and looking at that as a way to augment an authentic relationship rather than replace it. Talk to us about that, because I think that is such a powerful concept.
Yeah, there's so many things coming with AI. That's just, I mean, we have not even seen what's possible. I think, first of all, so let's talk about AI in its very general sense. When people ask me, Victor, what's my job? Go away. I said, look, here's what you do. He says, what you do is like in a little block diagram, list every task you have to do for sales. Just kind of list it all out. And then ask yourself, which one of these blocks can be automated? He says, that's going to be AI'd out immediately, right? But at the end of the day, we're not going to reach this point of singularity where the machines take over and Skynet happens, right? So we're not going to reach that for a while, because I think the creative brain, the innovative brain, is hard to replicate. I don't care, how deep learning and convolutional networks work. It doesn't matter. We're not going to get there for quite a while. So when I look at AI, there's reactive hindsight and predictive insight. I mean, that's really how you look at AI. Reactive hindsight is like you react because you looked at past data. AI is really about, being proactive and looking for insights. And today, and I'm really excited about how they're using AI in so many different ways. I could just go on it. I can blather about this for a long time. But one of the things I like is that as they're incorporating within their CRMs, you can predict what deals are going to close, which deals are not going to close, which deals are at risk. You can even predict using, Salesforce has something called configure price and quote, which basically says if you can adjust pricing, you can predict whether you'll win or lose an actual deal. I mean, we're getting that to that type of granularity. And so in our brains, we can probably look at a 2-axis, 3-axis, XYZ, maybe 4 axes, if we can imagine that. But you got to realize that sometimes these data points, have, 100,000 data axes that it's looking at, and it's finding these pieces of insight that are going to guide us to say, this is what you should do. In marketing, forget A/B testing. Why don't you go all the way A through Z and then double over a few times, right? Because that's the type of testing you can do with AI. So there's so many wonderful things you can do with that technology that I think it's going to become exciting. But I don't see salespeople going away. I just see salespeople using the tool. It's almost like a sniper scope, right? You can shoot without the scope, but man, if you had a scope, you kind of zoom in real quick, and the chances of you hitting that target are that much better.
Yeah, that's great.
So, wow.
Benioff said, I mean, it arrested me when I was reading his book, Trailblazer. He said that AI is going to change the world more than the internet did. And, so I think it's something that needs to be on our radar big time as sales leaders, as sales professionals. Where's the opportunity? And let's get on the right edge of it, that opportunity.
I got to give you this. Because I don't want to forget this, because when I say he's right, let me be specific about why he's right. And this is in mind, but Kevin Kelly, I think that's his name, the guy who founded Wired Magazine. He said, to understand AI and the impact of AI, you have to view AI as electricity, as a utility. He says, now what you got electricity running through everything, right? Where you're going to have AI running through everything. You're not going to see it, but it's there. Like you don't see electricity, but you know the effects of it when you got some lighting. And that's how it's going to change the world, because everything is going to be run almost like a utility through AI. And so again, it's all about intent, right? How you want to use that information and use those algorithms will determine how we come out of this. I think that's what Elon Musk is scared about. Yeah, like what's the intent? Well, again, is the Skynet? Is the Terminator coming? That whole thing.
Right.
So,
well, we shall see. Hey, by the way, first of all, thanks for sharing time today. This has been phenomenal. And I understand you're going to be at this conference in Atlanta coming up in June. Have you heard of the Outbound Conference?
Yeah, we got to peel this thing back. What can everyone expect, Victor?
Outbound Conference. So I attended it 3 years ago as a guest. So I was there as a guest, and we use the phrase rock show, but it's just a big show. Do you know what I mean? It's a big show. And if you want to see all your favorite trainers and speak, that's the place to be. It's like this concentration of sales brain power in one location. And so great speakers. Then the next year I was invited to speak. I got lucky. And it's always interesting because now you're speaking. And so now this is kind of like the inside, right? It's like, because you're speaking, it's like you got to understand what everybody else is speaking about, right? And then you got to be better than them. It's like, so every year, nobody wants to admit this, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the inside dope. I'm sure every speaker looked at the stuff from 2 years ago and said, I got to do better now. I got to up my game here, up my game. So, and what I think you're going to find is people just keep upping their game, and you get to see these people just really give great content. Mm-hmm. And so what I also love about it is that if you go there live, by the way, you can go virtual, as you know, but if you go live, the speakers, myself included, Larry, we're accessible. Do you know what I mean? Pass by the table, high five us, man. You know what I mean? Right. Jake, it's kind of cool to talk to people. And I think this is Jeb and Anthony's brainchild originally. And I think they've created a culture of, one, there's no pitching from the stage. I don't think people understand this. There's no pitching. You can't pitch products. This is not a pitch fest. So you can't pitch products. Second is they want you to bring your best, right? So they want people to walk out there and say, okay, that was worth coming. And so I think just those two things, and then maybe the third part is just keep it very human. Nobody has, like, Victor, even though I deserve one, I deserve a special green room. I don't get one. You know what I mean? I wanted a special green rooms. I wanted the green M&Ms. He didn't give it to me. And I'm like, come on, man. But anyway, everybody's treated equally, and that upsets me, but there it is. Anyway, you should go to Outbound. By the way, it's great content.
Hey, Victor, that's where you and I met. It was at I think it was Outbound 2. James Muir introduced me to you. James goes, hey, come here. I want you to meet a buddy of mine. Yeah. And that was when it was James at the CNN Center.
Yeah, James Muir, another great speaker, the book, The Perfect Closer, right? Just a great book. James. Yeah. And then you have the empty suit thing going on. I thought that was funny. I was like, that's funny. And then, by the way, and so let me give you some behind the scenes, because you only get right here on Selling from the Heart, purely authentic. So Larry, this is embarrassing, Daryl. I'm going to tell you, just pretend Larry's not here. So poor Larry, he doesn't know how to pack his display cases where his display. So the way I really met him, I said, hey, I'm Victor, right? Whatever we met, right? And then I see him, I think it's the next day or that morning. I don't know. I saw you fighting. Remember that you were trying to get this whole thing, your whole banner out. Yeah, you were trying to get your banner. And so we're sitting there taping this thing, trying to.
I remember that.
Yeah, you broke it on the airplane. That's your.
There's some real talk.
Yeah, and
I'm like, on the airplane, right?
I'm like, dude, come on, get your act together. We're professionals here. We should have this working quickly. So anyway, I just remember us fudging with it, and I don't think we ever got to go. I think you finally clued something together and got it going.
That's so good. Well, Victor, we can't wait to see you there. It's going to be a blast. Thank you for sharing your heart with us today. And wow, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks you guys for having me.
Months. Oh, so good. Well, hey, Larry, this is exciting. The challenge keeps rolling forward. We've got an announcement about something coming up in May here in just a second that I can't wait to unleash, reveal to the world. I think it's going to be epic. But as we do that, one of the things that we get asked from a lot of folks now is, how do I get access to the recordings? I didn't get to come to the one in January. Can I get access to the recordings? And the answer is, yeah, you can. Here's what you do. Go to sellingfromtheheart.net/insiders. Join our insiders group for 30 days. It's absolutely free, and you'll get access to all of the recordings of the challenge. And this, not only that, you'll get 30 days to interact with some of the most passionate, authentic salespeople out there. And you're going to absolutely love the insiders group. It is phenomenal. But if you want access to the recordings from earlier in the year to get caught up, definitely join the insiders group. And Larry, we have got another challenge. We thought, this is a good
one, Daryl. This
one's going to be epic. So you are the first to see this. Is actually a brainchild that is coming together right now. But when it comes to selling from the heart, what's the word that we hear? It's appreciation. It's saying thank you, right? So where we go? There we go. So we are excited to announce, and you're the first to hear it today, the first annual Client Appreciation Challenge. We are going to have an entire week, which coincidentally or not coincidentally ends on Customer Appreciation Day, May 21st. But all week long, we are going to be inspired, equipped and challenged by some incredibly inspirational folks. Larry, I am so excited. And today we are going to get to reveal the first person that is going to be coaching us inside the challenge. I feel like we need a drum roll or something. What do we do here?
Really quick, before the drum roll and all that is, I want everyone who's watching and listening to really key in on a couple of things. If you really want to grow your sales in 2021 and beyond, and Daryl and I both believe that it's directly through your clients.
That's right.
And it's directly related to this, how much appreciation and gratitude you show your clients. And it's not just at point of sale. It's not just at that special holiday. To me, to Daryl and the Selling from the Heart community, it's about showing appreciation and gratitude every single day.
Absolutely. So we're going to have 5 days of ideas, inspiration, and challenge. And the first one I'm so excited to tell you about today, Tom Hopkins, the legend, the guru, legend. I mean, I can't wait. Tom, we were speaking with Tom yesterday, and Tom is going to actually coach us on what he personally did to say thank you to his clients, which obviously led him to incredible, amazing levels of success. And he shared some of the things he's going to bring to the challenge to coach us on when we were talking with him yesterday. And he is so fired up about the Client Appreciation Challenge. And so stay tuned. We're getting everything together, but we'll have some details. And I guarantee if you're in the Authentic Selling Challenge, you'll be the first to know about this incredible, inspirational week coming up. All of this, by the way, is brought to you by our friends at Bombbomb. We don't want to end today without just saying a huge thank you to our friends at Bombbomb that have enabled all of us to get to rehumanize our communication, to put a face with everything, with a practical, awesome, and even more powerful now with the latest release video platform that we can use to do things like say thank you.
You know, the best line, Daryl, I've ever heard in a long time came from Ethan Butte. And Ethan Butte said, you know, we got to stop hiding behind our keyboards. There's enough faceless communication out there. And through the power of Bombbomb, through the great book that he co-authored with Steve Passanelli, Rehumanize Your Business, let's put a face, right? Let's put some passion behind what we do. Get reacquainted with your clients.
That's right. That's right. And this is what we're aiming at. So just put it in your brain, mark it down on your calendar, May 17th through 21st, the first annual Client Appreciation Challenge. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, sponsored by Bombbomb. If you do want to join us in that deeper dive, if you say, you know what, Larry, Daryl, I want to get intentional and focused on developing my heart capacity and habit consistency, check out intensive.2021authenticselling.com. It is this was absolutely born out of this Authentic Selling Challenge. And Larry, this is this is an opportunity to get real and get. We're growing in ways I never thought I would grow as a sales professional.
It all comes back to the personal transformation. To see the personal transformation in less than 90 days with people is just, that's why we do what we do.
That's right. Well, hey, everybody, thank you again for joining us. Those of you live, those of you listening in later, thanks for joining us for a bonus session of the 2021 Authentic Selling Challenge. Let's keep it rolling in Q2. Stay tuned for the Client Appreciation Challenge and other bonus sessions we'll have coming throughout the year. We're just going to keep this rolling, Larry, because we're having way too much fun doing this. So until next time, let's get at it. Let's be authentic. Let's sell from the heart.
Thank you for joining us today for the 2021 Authentic Selling Challenge. Authenticity requires action. You're challenged to take what you've learned today and put it into action right away. If you've enjoyed the ideas and inspiration you've received today, please take a moment to share this challenge with your friends and clients. Let's all take action. We'll see you again tomorrow.